Good afternoon, everyone. Welcome to another class where we discuss a new question from public administration, and that question is from paper 1, unit 6, administrative law and administrative reform, unit 6. So the question is most appropriate, try to understand this question, most appropriate institution to supervise the use of delegated legislative power is Parliament. So, Parliament is indirectly what you can interpret. Parliament is the most appropriate institution to supervise the use of delegated legislative power. 20 mark. So, Parliament supervise delegated legislation. This is the demand of question. Parliament supervise delegated legislation. So in the previous class we have discussed delegated legislative power is nothing but this delegated legislation. So in the previous classes we have discussed what is delegated legislation. So just give you a brief. Delegated legislation or Parliament. When Parliament delegate what? Its law making power to whom? To executive. When Parliament delegate its law making power to executive, we can call it delegated legislation. Okay, we call it delegated legislation. So Parliament delegate to executive or administration. So the probable question you face is delegated legislation is a necessary evil. This question already asked as a 60 marker question. We already discussed this. So in this question what we have discussed, that delegated legislation, necessary of delegated legislation, why it is a evil, why delegated legislation is a evil, and how to reduce the evil nature. And here the role of Parliament is important. Okay, so if we discuss the safeguard and everything, complete syllabus coverage, unit wise previous year OPSC question, model answer, important report of second year C, everything is given. So this should be your approach to study public administration. Remember the syllabus, read some unit of paper 1, paper 2 together, analyze previous year question, make structural note. These are some unit you must read. So whenever you read a structure of public organization, read central and state administration along with it, public policy with machinery planning, personnel with public service, financial with control over public expenditure. Accountability, control and administrative law and reform is interpreted in major issue in Indian administration. So if you complete paper 1 in a good manner, 30-40% of paper 2 over. Just example, line and staff is nothing but directorate and secretariat. Executive is nothing but president, prime minister. Accountability and control interpreted in major issue in Indian administration. Public policy, planning. Personnel administration, recruitment, training, promotion, same. Financial audit by CAG. Formulation of budget by Ministry of Finance. Okay, so we discuss both paper 1 and paper 2. In our course, we discuss all previous year mains question, focuses on answer writing and how to add current information in our answer. So you can join this course. It is going on. This is a subscription fees. One thing, this 10% discount what you get if you use iDeepak 10, you will get 10% discount by now. But from 1st March, this 10% will become 5%. Ananya, are you visible or are you there live? Okay, so if you want to take a subscription, take it in the month of February. Don't wait for March and appear this Anushilon test series. If you get become topper, you will have 1 month free. And this is a new batch. OCS prelim batch start from 8 February. And yeah, this is so this 1260 will increase into 1330. 12 month subscription 6,000 through 300. You need to pay more, 350 more. So take subscription in this month. So this is now get back to how Parliament monitor or supervise delegated legislation. Okay, so Parliament control over delegated legislation. Listen, you have read many things this Parliament control in the concept accountability and control. What we have discussed in accountability and control? Legislative control over administration. Legislative control over administration. So same thing, many things will be interpreted here. Parliament control over delegated legislation. Okay, so what is the first? Very simple thing. Normal control. How the normal control carried out? Question hour. You can call. So Parliament put question over delegated legislation. Question hour, 0 hour. Third, there is a committee, debate, discussion. Okay. After that, there is a committee. We have discussed about this committee in legislative control over administration. Committee on subordinate legislation. Committee on subordinate legislation. And I think you know what is a subordinate legislation. This concept, delegated legislation, is known as subordinate legislation. Why? Executive is subordinate from Parliament to make law. So when Parliament executive make law or legislate, it is known as subordinate legislation. And there is a committee on subordinate legislation. This committee study the delegated legislation to find out whether it is good or bad, whether it is according to the law or not. Just remember, committee on subordinate legislation. After that, there is special control. Normal, special. In special, laying. Just understand what is laying. You just put it before someone. The executive lay or put this law before whom? Before the parliament. You just imagine, you are the executive, your parents or your father is parliament. Just try to understand in this manner. Okay, you are the executive, your father is the parliament, and you just want to buy a new phone. Suppose this is a new law. You want to buy a new phone and your father is the authority. Your father is the parliament. You make a law, your father need to approve it. So the first is subject to no consideration. Laying subject to no consideration, that means the executive put the law and it was approved. You phone your father or you give a letter to your father that dear dad, I want to buy a new iPhone. Whenever your father approved it, or you WhatsApp to your father, and when it is blue tick, that means your father read the message, you just go and buy a new iPhone. That means the bill is approved. Laying subject to no consideration, you just put it and it was approved. I think everyone clear. Second, laying subject to negative resolution. That means your law approved unless rejected. That means you message to your father that dad, I want a phone. If your father said that no, I cannot give you a phone. If your father said that I cannot give you a phone, so you cannot buy it. And if your father don't say anything, just remain silent, that means you can buy a phone. If your father remains silent, you can buy a phone. That is subject to negative resolution. If not rejected, approved. If not rejected, approved. The third is laying subjected to positive resolution. Okay, what is this? If not approved, then consider it rejected. If you talk your father and said that I want a phone, and if your father not give approval, if your father said that okay, you will get it. If your father not said this, that means you consider it rejected. You cannot buy the phone. So this is laying subject to positive resolution. The fourth is laying in draft subjected to negative resolution. Same thing, laying in draft subjected to negative resolution, that if 40 days law, if in 40 days not rejected, then it is approved. So the law is with the parliamentarian for 40 days. If they not reject it in this 40 days, you consider it approved. 40 days, there is a time limit. The fifth is laying in draft subject to positive resolution. Here what happened? If not approved in 40 days, then consider it reject. If it is not reject, consider it approved. If it is not approved in 40 days, consider it reject. Okay, so this is direct control. After that, indirect control is there. How parliament control indirectly? Drafting. So parliament appoint expert draftsmen with the executive to make law. So this draft or legal expert, they help executive to make a proper law. This is drafting. Antenatal publicity. Antenatal means antenatal, before the law take birth. Before birth. Before the law take birth, the law should be published in newspaper so that people give their suggestion. So people's suggestion, if people reject it, so the law should be amended. If people support it, yes, it is a good law. So this is antenatal publicity. C. Constructive. That means all people who get affected from the law. For example, new education policy. Who is affected? Student. Environment impact assessment. Who is affected? Tribal. So those people need to be taken into account before the law is made. Their idea, their recommendation, their suggestions should be given importance. After that, a law is made in a good manner. Postnatal publicity. After this law is being what? Made. It is placed in paper, newspaper, so that people are aware about this law. And when people aware about this law, they give their suggestion, their approval, their rejection relating to this law. Okay. So this is postnatal publicity. So with this or through this instrument, Parliament can control effectively control the concept of delegated legislation. Okay. So this is, so everyone, again the new price or the 10% discount will reduce to 5%. So you can take admission in the month of February if you want, and public administration class is going on 8 to 9:30 every day in the evening. If you haven't followed me, download the Unacademy Learner app and follow me there, Deepak Kumar Swain, so that you can get you can have messages about all my special class. More than 60 special classes there. Just go and watch. Okay, so we'll meet in another class. Thank you everyone.